All right, sir.
Here we are. What were we talking about during the test run? Oh yeah, the light rail.
Yeah, the light rail.
It's
My boy.
yeah, operators, security officials bitching that it is unsafe. Well, not only is it unsafe, I think we might add it is expensive, inefficient, and really just replace bus routes. And we could have gotten many more lanes of road instead going into the cities,
Been much
mile
more
for mile.
beneficial for the taxpayer rather than who's really benefiting. I mean, the homeless, they have a place to hang out, 25 cents. They can ride it from beginning to end, and
A lot of time they don't.
they
A
don't
lot of
even
the times,
pay.
yeah, they don't get kicked off, and it's in the red. It really doesn't turn a profit, and taxpayers subsidize it. And even left-leaning people, liberal status, they really don't ride the light rail because they fucking hate it just as much as we do, which is crazy because we're on the other side of the aisle or on the other side of the spectrum, so to speak.
Yeah, that's one of those ones like, it's like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't seem to make any sense.
No.
And just through the city and the way it is, it's like, it barely fucking works.
Yep. It's a mess, and more people are beginning to realize that. I imagine some well-connected people who lobbied politicians and bureaucrats got a bunch of kickbacks.
Yep. I mean, I don't mind it, honestly. Like, it works for some of the things that I end up doing. Like, if I want to go down to U.S. banks, like, they've built some things that are right off it. But, I mean, that's just the thing. You're off a main strip. You got to be right off that strip.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's really not that beneficial. I might end up taking an Uber or something instead.
Yep, definitely.
Just because it'd make more sense. But
yep,
it's nice for some things. I'm not going to say it's terrible, but just the scale we tried to build it on, like, to go all across the entire fucking state. Like, the idea is, like, you could go to St. Cloud and then be in downtown Minneapolis in, like, a half hour or some shit, you know, just because it'll be straight down. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yep. I mean, not a lot of people are riding it, or as many that should be, which would turn it in, the green, turn it a profit. But it's in the red, and it's brutal. There's not enough demand, I guess.
Yeah.
And the safety situation coming from the operators and the officials, they're lobbying the Met Council and City Council, Minneapolis, St. Paul, whatever, to provide them with security, which is going to be another added cost.
Yep.
And it's probably in the long run, it's going to end up like the USPS. Just a bunch of liabilities, pensions, and not turning a profit, and it's just shitty in general.
Yeah.
And the private sector can provide better. And I think it comes down to individualism versus collectivism when it comes to transport, regarding transport.
Yeah.
Because, it would help to have more buses, like we were saying during the test run. But what would be even better is if everybody had their own vehicles and we built our infrastructure around that. 4 to 6 lanes added mile per mile for the same cost of 1 mile of a light rail or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I mean, we heard those numbers, and it was such a convoluted process, kind of like the U.S. Bank Stadium.
Yeah.
You just knew. You don't even need to know anything about it, and you knew there were a lot of kickbacks for high-level donors, contractors who lobbied politicians just to get it done.
Yeah.
And obviously not in the most efficient, cost-effective manner.
Yep. Yeah, and the taxpayers just footing the bill.
Yep, pretty much. Just bankrolling more projects for...
Wasn't it like the smokers? Smokers were most affected.
Yep, and Denny McNamara and a bunch of politicians tried to say that E-Tabs were going to pay for the new stadium. At first, that really didn't bear out, and again, they just upped the cigarette tax or whatever by a few dozen cents, and well, the Wolves are essentially, they got half their fucking stadium bankrolled. I think some numbers came out that a cost-effective trip to Pluto through NASA was less expensive than U.S. Bank Stadium.
That's right. Yeah.
To fucking Pluto, it was 1.1 or 1.2 billion dollars. It's crazy because the Wilfs have a combined net worth of 1.4, 1.5 billion dollars or something like that, and they could have paid for it themselves, but of course, they just got people on both sides of the aisle to agree to it, and then Dayton signed it, and
right, saying it would benefit the city to a certain extent, because I mean we get the Super Bowl and whatever out of it, but at what cost?
Yep. And once the team is valued at $3 billion or $2.5 billion maybe, they're going to sell it and just run away with the money fucking laughing. I mean, I don't blame them. I, of course, blame the politicians. They're just simply lobbying them to do their bidding, and
it'll be right after we get a Super Bowl. They'll be sold.
Yeah. When will that be,
get
though?
A Lombardi,
yeah, the Queen's trophy case is empty.
That's when the value will start coming in. But even then, it's just Kansas City, on the other hand, I can see them being a valuable
Chiefs Kingdom,
team,
yeah, you bet.
because that's gonna be like the next Patriots sort of dynasty right there. Kansas City with Mahomes, if they can keep their same key players and have Andy Reid finish out his career there and do another, who knows, 5 more years, you could probably do it.
Yeah, Mahomes, Matthew, Hill, Kelsey, the Patriots are pretty much passing the torch. And if Tom Brady goes to the Chargers, then he's going to have the receivers, and
he's not going anywhere.
No, that's true. They'll pay whatever they have to fucking pay the Craftsville. But yeah, man, I'm really excited for the Chiefs. That was nice to see him win. I think we were all cheering for him. Obviously, I'm a huge Garoppolo fan, but Mahomes is such a class act, and the Chiefs are such a damn good team built on speed and just tenacity. And it wasn't a surprise that they came back and won like they did throughout the playoffs. I mean, the Titans were up 24-0 at halftime or something, and then
they can fight. I mean, they can come back and finish out a game in the last quarter if they got to do it, and not a lot of teams can do that. You can see a lot of teams fizzle out. I think there was a stat about the 49ers fourth quarter. They have not done very well.
Yeah.
All throughout the playoffs, they didn't score hardly any points in the fourth quarter.
I think the numbers, I posted a screenshot from Twitter. Kyle Shanahan, in the last 10 minutes of each fourth quarter of the past 2 Super Bowls,
maybe that's what
he's had coached in.
Yeah.
The score has been 46-0.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's insane.
Yep, it was that. That's crazy. That's. What do you even say about that?
Yeah. It's even weirder that it's weirder that the Titans stopped running at halftime because they had Derrick Henry, and he had 16 carries, and then he only had 3, the half hit, and then he only had 3 after that. And it was just perplexing me because he's such a beast, and you have to rely on Ryan Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they could have said, I don't know, we're up by 24-0, might as well keep doing what we're doing, but
right.
Yeah, that was something else, man. The Chiefs are a pretty scrappy team. They know how to win.
Yep.
Oh, here you go, dude.
It was a good game.
It just says frames being dropped, but that's okay. It's all good. I don't know if that necessarily affects the visual, but
now we're good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we were also talking about daycare in the test run.
Oh yeah.
Yep. The bureaucracy and the regulations, the red tape, and
it's
the ratio crazy that you got to have, and
the number of basically supervisors, they call them teachers, to kids. So 10-to-1 ratio typically, depending on age. Age makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard for anybody to make any money in that sort of business, and I just can't imagine any more regulations solving that issue. It seems like they need to be maybe loosened up a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's a tough one. I could see how minimum wage makes a big difference. Just having to pay more per hour for people that are doing, It's just hard when you maybe don't need that many people, when not as many kids show up, but then you staff for
Mm-hmm.
having X number of kids, but then you fall beneath the 10, and then you have too many people
Yep.
on deck, and then here you are paying for an extra person, and then you have to pay them more because it's mandated. So it's just more and more is getting sucked out of your budget between the licenses that you got to get. Especially if you got to serve food, you got to get a food license. You got to get a license to even use the space for daycare. You have to get approved for however many kids, and it's just on and on. All this money, on top of renting the building, the utilities, paying for the food, and just taking care of the kids in general. Like, it's working in this sort of scene now. It's really opened my eyes to how challenging this space is.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Definitely.
And government has made it harder. It's just one of those things, and I can see it all over. You can see that in all sorts of different places, like in other areas where I've worked so far in my life. And I can talk to other people and find like, wow, government really puts a stranglehold on shit. But it also helps in some areas because there's some subsidies in some ways, and in the daycare areas, people can get some money through like the county.
Mm-hmm.
Their kids, like they can pay hardly any money a day to get their kid taken care of. So it's just, there's ways in government can help, but it also strangleholds the business. Yep. Yeah.
Taking out of somebody else's
It
pocket
slows
and then
growth for sure. I mean,
putting the boot on the throat.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody who runs a daycare and it goes under, or you go in the red and it tanks, you're not getting a bailout really.
Yeah, who's helping you?
Yeah, exactly.
You're slaving away. You're just trying to take care of people's kids, and then there goes all your money.
Pretty much.
In your future.
Yeah.
Because of what?
That's so many industries.
Yeah.
Energy sector, daycare, you name it.
Yeah.
Transportation.
God. It's savage, dude. It's like, it's the modern day kind of survival of the fittest shit.
Mm-hmm.
The evolution of things, where things just kind of die off if they aren't worth anything, and then the new ones that come about that survive, they kind of take over, but then they might die out, and then just kind of repeats itself. It's the beauty of business.
Yep.
It's kind of evolved over time, and I don't know.
Government really just stacks shit on top of it.
To get in the way and say, no, this is the way it needs to be, but it's just, that's not what the market ends up doing.
Yep.
And people think that, businesses will try to do whatever they can to please customers in the end.
Yep.
It's not like they're really doing anything intentional. Sometimes they do. They might try to cut corners, but they won't cut corners. Like, say, Bose speakers. Bose speakers are known for this particular sound. You're paying for that particular sound. And then you have all these different brands that produce a particular sound. And you're willing to pay X amount of dollars for that. And that's just how you can run a business in a particular market. I think competition is what really makes the world go round. And when we try to say, this is the way everything needs to be, I think it's just, you can see history tells you, look at how that works out.
Absolutely.
It's either my way or the highway.
Pretty much. They impose their monopolistic ways on businesses that are trying to be competitive and thrive, and on top of that, they hurt smaller businesses because they pass the regulations like you were talking about, where you have to have more capital than you would otherwise need to start a business. And it's crazy to think that communists and socialists think that there should be more rules and regulations when you're just cutting off the head of the hydra or the starfish. It just grows back and creates more problems.
Right.
When you pass another law and another law, well, we've tried reforming all of these fields, any field you could imagine. We've tried reforming them, whether it be education, the energy sector. I'm sure there have been many reforms in the past 2 decades in daycare, saying we're finally going to get it right.
Right.
And It just makes things worse.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if these regulations maybe came because somebody saw an issue, if you see an issue in a particular market, you could take that as your opportunity to jump in,
Mm-hmm.
do the right thing, and then just show people, lead by example, and then people could see what you're doing, and all of a sudden your business is booming, and they're gonna have to copy you and figure out what are
Yes.
you doing right, because I'm gonna have to mirror that in a way so that people want to come over to my business. And
Very much so.
I just feel like that's
It's lowest common denominator. I mean, I'm sure somebody fucked up along the way or cheated somebody, and then a bunch of bureaucrats said, "Hey, we can impose these arbitrary restrictions on you
right.
growing that business and trying to take it in a new direction."
Mm-hmm.
And it's of course under the guise of safety and well-being of customers and consumers.
Even with government, there's no way you're gonna stop that. I mean, I was just talking to somebody the other day about how they had their business model. They had somebody that worked for them. They thought this person was a friend, and it was one of those people that, keep your enemies close, sort of a thing. And she stole all the secrets basically, and copied her business, and now they're basically in competition with each other, and they don't
Damn.
talk anymore.
That's intense.
So I mean, it's
It all comes down to contracts, I feel like.
well,
She signed an NDA or
maybe, but even then, it's what do you do?
yeah.
After a couple of years, you'd have to keep renewing it. Let's say,
Yep.
you could break it, or you could take the risk and say, is this person really going to go through the headache of suing me and going through all this trouble?
True.
How are they going to prove that I really did anything? Because they're going to have to get evidence against me.
Yeah.
They just might think that I'm doing this, but they would have to figure it all out.
Yeah.
So,
but in the end, that split off, that schism really benefits the consumer or customer because more competition leads to lower prices,
yeah.
whereas less competition leads to oligopolies, monopolies, and higher prices, like we see in the pharmaceutical industry with EpiPens and insulin.
Yeah.
Most people are pissed off at greedy, evil corporations when it comes to the high price of EpiPens and insulin and life-saving drugs and prescription pills. But what they don't realize, of course, is that there's not a lot of competition because they have those particular pharmaceutical companies that manufacture those drugs have government-granted monopolies.
Yep.
And generics get shelved.
Regulated by the FDA.
Yep, exactly. They change once the patent nearly expires, they change something maybe like in the spring of an EpiPen, and then it gets renewed for another 5 to 8 years.
Yep.
And then they can just keep prices high.
Yep.
And just competition in general is what drives the economy.
That really opened my eyes when I watched that C-SPAN.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, you'd never hear those words strung together.
Most of the time, C-SPAN is boring, but when you have somebody who's economically literate like Rand Paul or Justin Amash or Thomas Massey, tearing apart these nominees to oversee the pharmaceutical industry and the FDA, and they're in various committees and positions and stuff, and they want to get passed in the Senate, or get approved by the Senate rather. It's always interesting to hear more libertarian-minded individuals rip apart that, argument. And it has very little to do with corporations, as was stated in the video, when it comes to maximizing profits. But it's more the FDA just getting lobbying money and then saying, we're not going to allow competition.
Right.
Fuck no.
Pretty much. They just say it's going to take you this long before we'll get through the review. You're going to have to pay this much money. And just imagine running a business for, say, a couple years waiting for approval.
God.
And then you're not having any sort of revenue come in. I mean, you have to have the capital. So say these guys go through the process. The only people making it through is going to be the big companies. They're the only ones that can afford it. So you could say, oh, it's not like it's really they're catering to them. It's just this is the system. This is the way it is. But the way the system is, it's like a pay to play.
Yep. They built up those barriers to market entry.
Right. So the government gets their piece of the pie by having so many hundreds of thousands of dollars come through in all like the red tape, you could say. And it just makes it so the barrier to entry is insane.
Yep. Pretty much.
And you're not going to have any sort of small market competition in the pharmaceutical area. That's my biggest beef with it. I wish that things were cheaper, but you can't say we need more government, because what's always going to happen is it's just going to stay the same. It's been that way forever.
Exactly.
I've been hearing this since before 2000s. I mean, early years when I've been a young kid, heard it forever. My grandma was sick, had cancer, all this shit. But like, this is all I've heard my entire life. And I don't think it's ever going to change if we seek government intervention and help. I think we need deregulation, as scary as that sounds. And that would probably solve the price issue, because then you would be allowed to
re-import drugs. And
well, it'd be risky, but I think this sort of, re-import drugs. And I think it wasn't possible in the past, so I could see why we did what we did and try to regulate things. But then it's gotten out of hand due to the way government is these days and how corrupt it is.
Oh, for sure.
So I think with the internet, you could have a lot of regulation based on just user interaction on a mass scale, without having to have it be word of mouth in the newspaper, because the newspaper, you can't trust any of that shit anymore either.
Yep.
How are you going to get a story out? Stories can get crushed, blah, 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 blah. But I think there's ways that we could come up with to regulate industries with the internet.
Yeah.
Just with the platforms that we could create.
With privacy and whatnot and everything that goes into that as well.
Yep.
For sure.
I mean, there's things that we could do that we couldn't do in the past. So we could try that. And I think it would be better for, say, the drugs that are out there. If you want to see how it's affecting people, or if this company's good, everybody could have reviews.
Yep. Just like anything else.
Anything else.
Yep.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Whereas these days, you just see some commercial and it's like, what the fuck is this? They just mumbled a bunch of shit at the end. And
for sure. And side effects include jaundice, suicidal thoughts, and it's like a family having a fucking picnic. Yep. They're all smiling like
that's exactly what I pictured, in a dog or whatever, and they're throwing a frisbee.
Yeah. But the pricing issue, I've known a few individuals who have kind of lived near San Diego or in Texas near El Paso, and what they do is they jump the border. They buy whatever they need for 1/50th, 1/40th of the price, whatever drugs they need, and then they come right back over, because in Mexico, it's a bit more deregulated when it comes to pharmaceuticals and prescription pills and whatnot.
Yeah.
Pharmacies are fucking everywhere in Mexico. When I was in Puerto Vallarta, it's like one every block and a half maybe, just all over the place, man. Wow. A lot of people are going to Mexico for dental work as well as Costa Rica for dental work.
Really?
It's cheaper, really.
My God.
Just to pay out of pocket. And
maybe I should go down there. Well, my work isn't that bad.
Costa Rica for dental work, yeah.
Wow.
And it's not these sketch dentists that look like mad scientists.
That's what I'd worry about.
Yeah, they have great reputations, and they're just American expatriates or expats who moved down there, cut the red tape, and started their own fucking business.
Well, they probably make more money doing that.
Yeah.
And while people are on vacation, they get a new smile.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Be sweet. Screw in teeth would be weird, though. You can always tell when somebody has screw in teeth.
Yeah.
Always. Unless it's a really, really well done job. But
yeah.
I don't know, man.
I mean, I'm sure you could pay money to make it look nice.
That's true.
There's ways, I'm sure.
And when it comes to the price cutting issue and being able to shop and be competitive, I mean, we should look towards the Amish. They negotiate. They know how to negotiate. They're frugal. They travel out of state if there are too many restrictions when it comes to healthcare or costs or clinics.
I don't think that they are so dependent on expenses. Like, we have to pay for housing and this and that, whereas they really just can live on their own.
Definitely. Self-sustaining.
Yeah.
That's the way to be, man.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we've really lost that as far as growing food.
Yes.
Living off the land and
absolutely
creating our own shit. We all want things made for us. Food delivery service has become insane. I've been getting so many ads for like little prepared meals, and I
Mhm.
think it's because that's kind of now my line of work. So now I'm getting ads for shit like that, but I did not realize how many services that provide you meals like every week. You can have them just prepackaged. You could probably just throw them in the microwave or in the oven for a while,
Yep.
and then boom,
Ready to go.
you have a meal ready for you in X amount of time. 20 minutes, maybe. I think some of them were saying within 20 minutes, here's a meal all
Yeah.
ready to go.
There's no doubt technology has made us incredibly lazy.
Well, yeah, and
Everything is given to us nowadays.
food, we can have it all ready to go for us. All we got to do is basically heat it up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that I'm guilty of that, but
Oh,
it's just
me too.
because it's just convenience with how busy life can get with everything else now.
Yep.
I mean, it's hard to want to sit down and prepare a meal,
Exactly.
but I do it. I still do it at least once a week. I try to twice a week. I mean, that's what I do for work now, is just constantly preparing food. So that's what makes it hard to want to come home and just prepare more
Because you already
food.
do it all day.
And then I got to do dishes, and I was already doing dishes all day. But
Yeah.
it's
I wish we learned more about cooking, gardening, living off the grid,
yeah.
or even just taking a 2-week course or something like
I
that.
feel fortunate in that regard, and I've learned a lot about all of that. So maybe that's why I just don't understand other people's, because it's just kind of been burned into me. But
For sure. Definitely. Those people who go and live up in the interior of Alaska on the North Slope,
yeah,
they're crazy. They're fucking insane.
I don't know how they do that.
Some people, it's weird that some people think that's easy. Like they could do it, like they could figure it out. No.
Yeah, good luck.
If you don't know how to make your own computer or make any kind of an electronic device or something super basic as an electronic device, you can't figure it out. You're not mechanically inclined enough. Maybe you don't have an engineering mindset or whatever. How are you going to live off the grid?
Right.
And, if you grew up in the outdoors and you knew how to do shit and grow food and get running water and electricity and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you could totally live up in Alaska. But I mean, it would help you so much, help students and young adults so much to be able to learn how to do that kind of stuff. Just even installing solar panels or setting up a battery storage system or whatever. Anything, yeah, like
Anything.
electrician work. God damn it.
I know. I wish that.
Just more hands-on.
Well, I mean, you could go and take classes like that, but you really had to go out of your way to get them. It's not just part of the program that we teach people in general, and I think that's part of the issue. It's not that there isn't a way for you to learn about that. It's just not set up. You're not shoved through that like you're shoved through anything else.
It's the hidden path. It's not the main path that they've already paved.
Right.
Through ideology and just kind of not brainwashing, but just like you can't go on that path that not a lot of people have treaded on.
Right.
And I would have loved to have learned how to do, gone to Votech or something like that, and learn how to do drywall, and like welding would be badass. I wouldn't need to be a specialist in it, but at least I could have an idea and have a much more appreciation for welders, which I am now seeing. Welders, oil workers, plumbers, lumberjacks, construction workers, people who just haul sheetrock around,
Still
truckers.
do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be hard for you to be a welder, I feel like. It takes a lot of focus.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
You got to dial in on running the bead. I mean, it's fun. It's enjoyable. But I could see you being a lumberjack probably.
Yeah, I could too.
You just go nuts.
Working in Oregon or Washington or British Columbia.
Just hacking away.
Yeah. But being able to see the process of something like welding and just having much greater appreciation for it, for people who go into trade and work their asses off and work with their hands.
Yeah.
And pushing that to the front with also an academic education if you want to pursue that after high school. That'd be great. I mean, that would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Go on a field trip to North Dakota or Fort McMurray or Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, and stay in an oil field for 4 or 5 days. Get some young adults. And
Kids would do that though.
oh yeah, absolutely.
They would jump on the opportunity, and then they would find something that, they, not all of them would enjoy it, but you'd find some that did enjoy it.
Yep. And the industry, I'm guessing, would be able to pull a few young adults and
be a little
get them
stronger.
out on rigs, refineries, and boy, that's some hard work.
Yeah.
Fuck. 2 weeks on, 1 week off, or what is it? 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and 16-hour days.
Yeah.
14. You just hit a point where your body can't take it though. Like if you get in your mid-30s, you're still, pretty tough, pretty strong and everything, but you have to do it for a few years and early 20s, whatever. But it would show students, here's where your gasoline comes from.
Yep.
And it is a fucking complicated process that's made more complicated by regulation and the state getting involved.
Yeah. But we still can get it for fucking $2.50 a gallon or less most places. So that's legit. Once it gets over $3, that's when I feel like it starts to get pretty expensive. But man, for how efficient vehicles can be these days, it's not too shabby.
No, it's not bad. Once it hits $3.50, baby, it's Tesla time though.
Yep.
No excuses.
Yeah, I'm almost to the point where I could afford it, but I wouldn't be able to afford much of anything else.
True.
I'd be living pretty strapped month to month.
Same here, man.
Financially. But
over the long term, without as many moving parts as opposed to a gas-powered vehicle, the maintenance costs you would save yourself.
Yeah, that's true. I fucking hate all of the maintenance costs that I've had with my cars.
Blown head gasket, cracked oil pan, maybe fuel pump. My mom's fuel pump gave out. Oh my
God, I've had all those things.
Really?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep.
Just had the gasket. But my mom's fuel pump went out in the middle of an intersection. I think it was either Princeton or Elk River, and I felt so fucking bad for her. God, that's a few $100, and it's just auto breakdowns. Well, especially obviously for gas-powered vehicles, they happen at the worst time, and when they happen, they're at the forefront of your mind.
Yeah.
Even though we have Uber and Lyft, and they're still pretty cheap.
I mean, it just becomes really expensive for you to get out of any situation.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have some sort of connection or you can fix a flat tire. But if it's some sort of engine work and you have to get it towed somewhere, I feel like you're automatically paying at least $100.
Yep. $75 for a hookup and whatever per mile, and then you gotta if it's like a head gasket or something,
roadside assistance or something in your insurance. But
definitely.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. We're not in any rush.
And there's also all the costs then to figure out diagnosing, swapping parts, replacing, labor, fixing that shit up. So yeah, I mean, it gets expensive real quick versus an electric car. It's just it's a motor,
AC motor,
couple moving parts, nothing much to it. Big fucking battery.
Yeah, dude, those battery packs, holy fuck.
Yeah, I mean, my only issue is charging it.
Mm-hmm.
At least in my house, my garage leaks, so I feel like having water leaking into an area where there's an electric car being charged. Probably.
Possibly. I mean, the water would have to get high, but there's also a charging station in Duluth at, I think it's some hotel place or something. They have 4 or 5 ports.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to have to go over there and charge it every fucking time. That would suck ass. I'd want to plug it in at night and
that's true.
And go.
Plus, I think it's worse for the battery if you supercharge it every time as opposed to just leaving it overnight.
Yeah, I think they say to leave it like under 90%, even like 87 or something, 86.
Yeah, dude.
You can set where you want it to be charged to and shit.
You know, Tesla and Panasonic have battery packs that are pretty much impervious to weather, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Whatever we're seeing now really isn't the best available prototype when it comes to battery technology.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm just kind of waiting it out because there's going to be all this competition There's going to be people rolling out all these different vehicles.
Yep.
I feel like I'm going to go with a Tesla regardless, just because I can't see people matching or beating their features that they've got.
I think one of the areas they
And
can compete
price.
in, yeah, true, is, well, dollar per kilowatt hour, but I think in these smaller like Nissan Leaf vehicles where they only get 80 miles to the charge or on a single charge, or like maybe 125 miles to the single charge, if you're just driving around town and that's what you use it for, I could see another company coming in and being just as competitive as Nissan has been for those like smaller range vehicles or EVs. But other than that, Model 3 and above for range, I think Tesla has the market and will have the market.
Yeah.
I mean, I think their stock price got up over 510, got to like 515 or something.
Oh yeah, I was looking at that and like hit 700 for a little bit,
Yeah.
but then it went back down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's something else.
It is.
I think they're building. I think Elon wants to build a gigafactory in Texas too. He kind of hinted at that. One in Germany because Germany's still the manufacturing heart of Europe. Boy, he gets that rolling. I mean, he really can disrupt the entire automotive industry.
Yep.
I mean, every single day you can type in Tesla or electric vehicle or something like that, and some new article will come up about something new or innovative that the company's doing, filing new patents, which they've made quite a few of them open for the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Or, new projects that are going on, and it's really sweet to see.
I really want to try Tesla.
Have you test driven one before?
No, have you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They have a showroom in I don't want to say Eden Prairie, Edina, somewhere around there, some one of the cities. And I went there and I drove a 90D. It didn't have a P100D, the performance all-wheel drive. It has ludicrous mode too. But driving it is just because the battery pack is under the vehicle. There's the front and back are both empty.
Can you tell the difference when you're going around corners?
When you're braking,
yeah,
definitely. And the engineering, the engineering is so smooth, and it's basically a computer on wheels, and it's like you're hovering. Yeah,
that's a good way to describe it.
So many tech features, and it makes you think, why wasn't the automotive industry like this the entire time?
Yeah,
really, I just keep going back to that question. Why wasn't it like that the entire time? At least for the past decade and a half or decade.
Money. I mean, they want to just keep doing what they're doing. They have a lot of money invested in all these resources for gathering oil, so why not keep it going rather than diving into something else? So, I mean, I think it's just we're at the time now where the electric car is going to have its debut. I mean, it should have happened before.
Yeah,
but you're right. It should have been all along, but another business has come in. It's going to become a whole nother sector. I don't think gas vehicles are really going anywhere, but there's going to be a split now between electric and gas.
Yep. For sure.
Gas is going to probably get more expensive while electric is cheaper, and electric may take the whole thing over.
Definitely. It'll take a few decades, but I think it'll happen.
Yeah.
I think they'll get
somewhere down the line.
The cost and price down and everything. And
yeah.
In Social Problems in Dirk's class, this is our senior year. We watched Who Killed the Electric Car.
Yep.
Fantastic documentary.
Changed my life.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, it shows how Texaco had the patent to an electric vehicle battery or something like that, and they really fucked. They worked out a deal with the automotive industry, and they fucked over the entire industry. And then it didn't help that Chevy tanked their Volt program because it fucking sucked. Mm-hmm. And then, well, Tesla came about, and
here we are.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
I mean, I'm pretty sold on them. I want to get one, but who knows? Cash money.
I see them all the time in Otsego and Buffalo.
Drives me nuts. They're all over up here. That's what I think. I think's crazy about them. I mean, up here in Duluth, where it's cold, people are driving Teslas.
Yep.
So it must do all right if enough people have them up here.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Probably only lose like 8 to 10% on a single charge range when you're not driving it at cold.
And if you plug it in every night and just juice her back up.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
The
seats could use some work though. The seats, it's.
Yeah.
It's like getting on the saddle of a fucking bull or a bronco. There's no comfort.
You didn't like the seat?
No, hated them.
I
like the space, but the seats just
need some sort of like padding or what?
Yeah, really does. That's the only critique I have.
Yeah, but I can't believe it. You feel like it's a car. You're gonna be sitting in it.
Mm-hmm.
The seat should be a luxury item right there, rather than like all this stuff with like the air conditioning and all this shit. But then you get this uncomfortable seat. Like it defeats everything.
The minimalism dash is pretty sweet though, or the minimalist dash.
Yeah, that's the screen.
Yep, screen, and then you have a wooden panel, black, whatever, plastic.
A few little knobs on the steering wheel.
Yeah, dude. Super sweet. If I won the lottery, I would buy you and probably 5, 6 other people Model S's. Just want to let you know. And mansions, of course.
You better start buying tickets.
I know, man.
I know you don't buy any.
Sure about that woman in New Hampshire who won the lottery and then she fought to keep her identity private?
No.
Oh, this is last year, I think. It'd be pretty insane. If you win the lottery, think about how many people in your life who maybe just haven't been doing well as a result of their own actions and decisions would just come to you and be borderline insane to you in every fucking interaction.
Right.
That's crazy to think about. You would have to hire a psychologist, lawyer, well, a team of lawyers, countless financial experts to make sure you don't go bankrupt.
There goes all your money.
Yeah, pretty much. Well,
just because you won the lottery.
Yeah. Well, there was this one show where they followed people who won the lottery, and one of the big mistakes or people who win the lottery make is they try to start a record company, that they can just start a record company and just expand on their wealth or their accumulation of wealth, and they end up going bankrupt because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And they waste so much on consulting fees and everything.
Yeah.
But that's the right way to go if you win the lottery. Just fight to remain anonymous, because once your name gets out there and got all that cash.
Yeah, then what do? You're in the spotlight, and here you have a family member you haven't heard from in years.
Yeah, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
You have to hire a security team like Zuck has. Jesus Christ. I was reading, I think it was yesterday, how much Facebook spends to protect Mark Zuckerberg with armed guards and various security features. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it's, I think 1 year, a few years back, it was 10 million and now it's 22 million or something like that.
A year.
Yeah, a year.
Wow.
And in one of the conference rooms or executive conference
rooms.
You said
1 year.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. In one of the conference rooms or executive conference rooms, they have an underground fucking tunnel in case something happens. And they have to evacuate Mark Zuckerberg.
It's insane that they will go through all that just to, take care of one person. But I mean, I guess I kind of get it. He is a high profile.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people say a lot of things about him, so you never know. So rather be safe than sorry, I guess, if you have the money to throw at it. Because, Facebook, they're going to have enough money to throw $22 million a year at taking care of their boy.
Oh, you bet. When the hypocrisy, of course, comes when he advocates for gun control and says nobody in public should be allowed to own a firearm. And then he's surrounded by an army of armed guards, like 16 to 20, sometimes 50 in certain events. 50 fucking armed guards.
It's crazy.
They probably have badass tiger striped gold plated Desert Eagles too. 50 caliber, ready to just blow a fucking hole through anybody who tries to.
Yeah, just rip you apart.
Yeah. My God.
Yeah.
That's why it's funny when Chelsea Handler said that her armed guards don't carry semi-automatic firearms. It's like, what do they carry then? Revolvers?
Yeah.
Muzzle loaders? She tweeted that out, and
it's like, that's what is semi-auto? It's just, you can pull the trigger and then it's ready to be pulled again.
Yep, just pull the trigger once and a bullet comes out.
Yeah.
I can't imagine her armed guards are carrying revolvers or muzzle loaders or muskets.
Oh my God, could you imagine? They gotta fucking push the bullet down.
Yeah.
After they load it with powder and everything.
Fucking powder, saltpeter.
Go through that whole ordeal and fire away, go through the whole
While
process
some crazy
again.
guy in fucking Skid Row is just running at her.
They don't use semi-auto. That's funny.
Yep. They fly in private jets,
'Cause
but
it
they
would have
preach.
to be.
They try to oppose climate change, but they fly in private jets. They say walls don't work, but they live in gated communities. And they say nobody in public should have a firearm, but they're surrounded by groups of people with firearms. Ryan, I think it's almost like Hollywood is hypocritical, and the conglomerate of those shitty people should not be the collective moral arbiter of society.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, especially they have such a disconnect.
Yeah.
It's like what they want to be real, but then they hold themselves to this certain status, saying, well, like, I have this because of this.
Yep.
It's like, well, I would want security because of this. It's like, why wouldn't I?
Yeah. Why wouldn't the peasants want security as well?
Why wouldn't I have a right to defend myself?
Yep.
That's why our rules make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. It's taken me a while, but I've come around to it. Second Amendment, all that jazz.
You bet.
Freedom of speech.
Absolutely.
I don't see a problem with it. I'm fine with people having guns. I know people that have guns all around me. Not terrified whatsoever. It's crazy how paranoid people can get.
Well, they try to plant that paranoia in people's minds when since the early 90s, violent crime has been cut in half while the number of guns has, I think, more than tripled.
Yeah.
Possibly it's on its way to being quadrupled. And people don't realize how safe it is. When they cite the 40,000 or 30,000 people a year are killed each year in America by firearms, well, all but 10,000 are from suicides. So there are 10,000 gun-related homicides each year in America, roughly, on average. And that's in a country of 330 million people.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Right.
So when a mass shooting happens or something and everybody hops on Twitter and tweets, oh my God, you can literally not go to the grocery store without fearing for your life. And I always say, well,
I get that things can happen.
Yeah, things can happen. They're very, rare. And that's the point. They're rare. You can still go.
What is that percentage, with that number that you just stated?
Astronomically
so
slim.
small.
And nobody's going to stop going to the grocery store because some crazy, that crazy, populist, environmentalist.
Well, and if there's a repeat offender, they're eventually going to be caught.
Shovels.
I mean, it's not like the same person's going to get away with it forever.
Yeah.
They'll eventually be taken care of. And then, it sucks for the few individuals that end up being the victims in these situations.
Yep.
But, what do? You can't control what happens in life.
It's just a roll of the dice, really. And
yeah.
What I then ask those people is, what is the statistical probability of you, one, dying in a shooting, but going past that, dying in a mass shooting? What is the statistical probability of that happening?
So slim.
And then they just completely redirect.
Yeah.
And they bitch about guns and how guns are bad. And when you take a look at the statistics,
I think people just think it's going to become this increasing, and it's just going to all of a sudden just ramp up like crazy, and there's just going to be shootings everywhere, and there's going to be nothing we can do. So it's like, get the guns out of here now before it gets to that point, because they don't want to see one of those olden day wars where it's just every man for himself, people firing away or some shit.
Yeah.
But
they think it's just going to exponentially grow, and it's all fear mongering and propaganda from their side, because mass shootings are not going to significantly increase while the number of guns obviously increases, especially when a Democratic president is in office. If Bernie gets elected, he's going to become, he's going to become the best gun salesman in the history of the United States of America, possibly of the world.
Yeah.
Because everybody's going to stock up, and mass shootings won't increase, and nobody on the left is going to say, wow, more guns doesn't really mean more mass shootings. Just look at Switzerland.
Right.
The Swiss are armed to the fucking teeth. How many mass shootings are there in Switzerland? Virtually none.
Hardly any, if any at all.
No. And then when you tell them that and you cite, statistics in other countries, they won't see the point that it's more about culture and the individual than it is about the firearm or the inanimate object,
Right.
which that individual uses to carry out carnage.
Mm-hmm.
They'll never see that point because then their entire gun control narrative falls apart completely.
Yep. Boom.
Should we end it there, dude?
I think so, man.
All right.
I mean, I got nothing else to say.
All right. Cool. 4K episode 5.
Hope this one turned out all right.
I think it turned out great, man. We got 4K, new setup.
Yeah.
Thanks to you, man. Really.
Well, we got a good financial investor, Mitch Leedy, backing us up.
Teamwork, man. Teamwork makes the fucking dream.
Turning those pockets out.